Hi, I'm Stephen Yancey doing the Junkyard Crawl in rural Vermont with a 1959 DeSoto Firedome four-door sedan. DeSoto was named after Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto, who discovered the Mississippi River way back when in the 1600s. So old history, but again, they paid tribute to him with the name of these cars. These DeSotos were built between 1950 or 1928 and 1961. This is 1959, right near the end. But with that said, these have Virgil Exner's forward-look styling on them, kind of a great look, 1957 that arrived, and sweeping lower profile lines on these things, no more bread box, no more high sides, tall roofs, and basically these are pretty sleek cars, really influenced GM's design staff to really rethink what they were doing in 58, and they came out with 59s were much more graceful cars than they were in 58. So GM was influenced by cars like this, and Virgil Exner's impact was felt throughout the industry. And here's a great example. And yet DeSoto was not as popular as Chrysler or Plymouth or Dodge. But with that said, they sold a fair amount of cars. DeSoto was meant to take on mid-price cars like Olds, Pontiac, and Mercury, priced in the same area. Similar features. These were all V8 powered, no six cylinders in DeSotos at this point in time. This one being a Fire Dome will have a 383. The Fire Sweep would have had a 361. And again, it has Fire Dome, Fire Sweep, and Fire Flight were the three fires, if you will, of the DeSoto family in 1959. Let's take a peek under the hood of this one here. And there it is, the mighty 383 two-barrel with about 280 horsepower, I would say. And that's a low-deck B-Series wedge. That came along in 58. Chrysler Corporation abandoned the Hemis and went into these wedge head just single rocker shaft engines. And the 383 was also a mainstay of things like the Roadrunner in the 1960s. A good muscle car engine, Challenger 383, the RT base engine was a 383. Same basic genes as this engine right here. Good torque. And the 413 was a possibility a couple of years later on these sorts of cars, of course not in DeSoto land. They didn't use tall deck motors. These all had low deck 361s or 383s. The Adventure had dual quads, which is kind of a cool thing, but this is not an Adventure. That would have been the premier DeSoto to have. And while we're in here under the hood here, we see power brakes. You see that thing that looks like an accordion? That's basically the brake booster. And there's a metal canister. That is the vacuum reservoir. And that takes vacuum from the intake manifold, stores it so that when you hit the brake pedal, that accordion helps your foot to get more leverage and give you a softer, easier to use brake pedal versus a manual brake. And speaking of brakes, Chrysler had some unusual ideas in the 50s. These are called total contact or center plane brakes right here. This is a 1960 Plymouth, but right there you can see there's two wheel cylinders, one here and one down there, and they operate the brake shoes. The idea is that instead of a single brake wheel cylinder, these apply the shoes in a more total contact way against the drum. With that said, they're problematic. Getting parts for these things is tough because each one of these things is a different part number. And from the left and the right, there's 4 different wheel cylinders you have to buy to rebuild the brakes on one of these. How do I know? I had a 50-war Plymouth with this stuff on it. And again, 1950s were all about Detroit gingerbread styling. On the tops of the fenders right here, these cast pieces right here. Didn't do anything, but they looked cool. And I guess they help you to guide the car down the road, sort of, kind of, don't know. But again, Virgil Exner's styling was all about wraparound windshields and backlights. And, stylish, flatter roofs than 1954, 55, even 56, where they had sort of a bulbous, sort of a bread box kind of a look to it. But with that said, this is kind of cool. It's a 1960 DeSoto Adventure by Johan, a little built-up model. And similar bones, but of course, being a 60, it has a different grille and even more fin than this 1959. Beautiful example. And this is a built-up car I bought on eBay. Nicely done, whoever did this thing. Dual exhaust on the Adventurer, and of course, dual quads on the 383 on the Adventurers. Just trying to get the hood open, and there it is, dual quads. Unsilenced paper air filters right there, kind of neat. And again, that wrapper windshield. And the rear view mirror, take a look inside. You'll see that you can see right through the windshield. That's the rear view mirror, which we call the rib raker. And to see one in 1/1 scale, not 1/25, let's open the door, and we'll have the Reverend Evan, the cameraman, take a walk around. And there it is, right there atop the dashboard. That is the mighty rib raker rear view. I guess the idea is that you could get a better view through the backlight and cars coming up against in your direction. But with that said, if you're in the back seat, you have to look through that thing. It's kind of distracting if you spend any time in the middle of the back seat. It's kind of hard to look through that thing. Now the radio in this thing is still present, kind of neat. And if you look at the at the indicator right there, you see two circles. Those are civil defense logos right there. The idea is that in the event of a Russian nuclear attack or any kind of attack, you would tune into one of those two AM radio stations, and those stations would broadcast in a lower energy so that the bombers theoretically couldn't track the radio waves of higher frequency AM stations. So if you had if you had to tune into what to do next, if the sirens are going off, tune into one of those two stations, you get directions to the nearest fallout shelter. Such was the paranoia of the Red Menace in the 1950s, and kind of still a thing today. With that said, but anyway, trying to think about it. And here we have again the pancake roof. Virgil Exner, we love you. You did great work on these things. Again, wrap around rear windows, and the fins. We can see the kind of the 57 was the prime year for Virgil Exner's fans. 57 or 58 was pretty decent. 60 was a little toned down, but again, just a great looking car. And this one being a sedan, not a hardtop, has full door frames right here, and the B pillar is fixed. So the nice thing about these, they're less prone to wind and water leaks on stormy days. But again, the sedan was a cheaper car in many ways. So that's the story of this 1959 DeSoto Firedome 4-door sedan 383 two-barrel. If anything in this car rings your bell, even that AM radio with the Cold War paranoia markings on it, you can reach out to Paul Crozier by email, paulcroziervt at gmail.com, and find out if he wants to sell those goodies to you and or your restoration project. So thanks for watching this video, and if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the Steve Manx YouTube channel. We'll see you tomorrow for more Junkyard Crawl.